strong and dynamic nature of our human being, which wants to be free, which wants to have liberty, we're moving in that direction. Our goal today is to make sure that the people in Ashraf, who represent not just the Iranian resistance, but represent the spirit and forces of liberty, are protected, and that they are given the opportunity to live in freedom and run a democratic government as Mrs. Rajavi has proclaimed it would do. We, as Americans, are following the lead of many of our colleagues, not just in Germany, but in the EU and in the UK. We are very disappointed as Americans in the leadership of our current government, who has not done what they are morally and legally responsible to do, which is the guarantee of the protection of the 3,400 men and women in Camp Ashraf. We have been speaking, we have been writing, some of us were demonstrating outside the White House. We looked at each other, the former Secretary of Homeland Security, the former FBI Director, and we said, we're demonstrating outside the White House because we cannot get our government to implement and fulfill its promise to protect and rescue these 3,400 people who have a written guarantee by the United States of America. You're going to hear in a few moments from Colonel Martin, who was the representative of the United States, who can talk about his friends, as he says so emphatically, in Camp Ashraf, and the fact that this is not a terrorist organization, it has never been a terrorist organization, and the listing by the United States, which we have complained about, spoken against, demonstrated against, written about, talked to anyone who we can speak to, is unjustified on the facts, on the law. It was an accommodation to the Iranian regime in 1997, so relations could be quote-unquote normalized in exchange for putting the MEK on the list, and we have witnesses who were in the political process inside the United States government who have confirmed this. In response for putting the MEK on the list, the regime offered normal relations and normal discourse. Well, of course, that didn't happen. You know, if you look at the list and its population over the years, it's very, very clear that the list does not have a basis in fact and law in every case, and that in many cases, but particularly in the case of the MEK, it is purely a political accommodation, which is now 14 years too late and causing irreparable damage and death, because, as you know better than anyone, both the regime in Tehran and the Iraqi government have used this listing as a license to kill members of the MEK. And they will continue to do that, and if we have another, God forbid, massacre, the Iraqis will be the first to proclaim that, well, the United States lists this organization as a terrorist group, so what are we expected to do? We wrote on January 20th, I think you can find it pretty easily now, another letter to our Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. We wrote another letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations. It's not only a remarkable letter, but the signatories on this letter, there are 21 former American government officials and military officials, including a former Attorney General, former CIA Director, former National Security Advisor, former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The list goes on and on and on. These people represent the foremost experts on counterterrorism in the world.